Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing a little commentary of one of my recent Mardon 250 pulls. Um, so a little context, I'm running Mara in the TBC Prepatch that is available on the PTR right now. This was filmed on May 9th, so it's only been out for a few days, and watched a few videos and kind of learned how to put this together. Big shout out to Tej. He does a lot of great Paladin boosting videos, great Paladin AoE farming. Definitely check him out. Have a link in the description for him. He's kind of where I learned kind of the main Mara pull, but definitely have some work to do on it on my side. But I'll be continuing to perfect it over the coming days in preparation for a pre-patch. Um, so to start off, I actually pull this Hydra with a Holy Shock, and then the countdown starts, and then we're going to have to wait for these Borers and the Guardians to come so I can pull them both with a rank 1 Consecration. I'm then going to judge the Deep Borer, and I didn't time it properly, so I needed to Holy Shock that Borer back there. And then at this point, you notice that I have a Swiftness of Zanza potion up. You want to basically just outrun the mobs as much as you can. You will gain distance on them over time, slowly but surely. You notice I switched shields there to the Blessed Karaji Bulwark. This gives me the defense needed to no longer be uh, dazed by mobs when they hit me from behind. I like to stun uh, the Rock Guardians there. That makes it so that I get a bit more distance on them when I do the pull. Whenever you can, try to just either run into mobs or melee them. There's going to be most of the time you're going to have to pull with either a Holy Shock or a Judgment. Um, I think that it's much easier to do this farm when you have a Swiftness of Zanza and Holy Shock talented. Um, but it's definitely something that I'll probably be looking into to see if you even need Swiftness of Zanza, if instead you can go into Pursuit of Justice in the Retribution tree, which will increase your speed by 20%. Um, but for the most part, you want to maintain your distance from these mobs as you're pulling them. Try to just give yourself as much survivability as possible. Um, I'll pull that deep bore with a Holy Shock, and then this Dimitrodon with a Judgment. And then we just keep running up the stairs. And I think I'll end up stunning that one and judging that deep bore, maybe a consecration. There we go. And from here, you just want to continue gathering up all the mobs. For this first back part of Mara, you definitely add 100, 150 mobs here that you would not get if you were to just do the standard 200 pull, which we will be getting into after this. You see, I marked one of these mobs as a star because I needed a reminder that I needed to pull that mob with a Holy Shock, and I actually didn't get to it. I was out of range, so I ended up just pulling those mobs there with the Holy Shock instead, and then I can judge this mob, and then I go directly into a Blessing of Protection. Actually, I think if I go back, so this mob here, I missed that. I think there's another group of the Rock Guardians that I missed. Let's see if I can pause it. Yeah, right there. So I could have kept going and pulled them. I don't think I saw it. I was kind of freaked out because I pulled the giant, as you see here, but he will end up resetting. He may have reset some of the mobs as well, I'm not sure. But you basically want to cast Blessing of Protection when you're not too far through the tunnel there, and you're going to stay here and wait until your your protection is almost out. Then you're going to switch into your Divine Favor Holy Light to heal up any damage that you've taken, which is likely quite a bit. Um, and make sure you reapply your Blessing of Wisdom as well. You're going to want to wait for the mobs to get close to the Dimitrodons here so that they stay decently close and clumped up. Um, so I'll go ahead and pull them with a Judgment and then just keep running through. Be careful of that flower there. I've definitely gotten stuck behind it in the past when I was first learning this pull, um, so that's something to watch out for. I will post a link to my talents in the description, but it's basically mostly holy, um, and I then go into protection for some additional armor on Devotion Aura. My 1 minute reduction or 2 minute reduction on Blessing and Protection, and then some 3 out of 5 into Redoubt, just to get an additional chance to block when I get crit, which will be often. Um, I use the Kill Track add-on, as you saw there, to track the number of mobs, and it seems to work so far in the PTR, so that is great to see, at least what they have currently on the PTR. So for this next part, this is actually the beginning of the Mara 200 pull. Um, so we're going to come through here. I actually use a Swiftness Potion, and I've reapplied my Blessing of Wisdom there. I pulled those mobs with a Consecration, and then you can pull that one with a Holy Shock, and then make it back up to here in time before the rest of the mobs catch up with you. If the Rock Guardians catch up with you, they can stun you, and that's the end of your run. So I like to play it safe. I probably use more Swiftness Potions than I should, but I find them to be useful. I'll go ahead and pull these with a Dense Dynamite. You can use a Rough Dynamite as well. They're a lot cheaper to use. I pull those boars there with a Solid Dynamite, and then I am not able to pull that pack to the left there. That's probably another 6 to 8 mobs that I didn't get. Still trying to figure out how to grab those and maintain my distance from the rest of the mobs at the same time. So that is definitely a work in progress. I might be able to play Ring Around the Rock with them, but not 100% sure. I'm not going to skip ahead because this is all just kind of waiting for the mobs to catch up with you. I will now wait to get the mobs a little more clumped up. Actually realizing that waiting there won't cause that because all the mobs will stop except for the Hydras. So you're really just creating more distance between the Hydras and the rest of the mobs there. So just keep running all the way through as quickly as you can. Definitely want to pull the slimes with a Consecration. Make sure you get all of them. And then I like to pull the lurkers from max distance with either Judgment or Holy Shock. I did Judgment there. I think I might actually stun this one. No, I'll Holy Shock it. That's fine. Avoid the Shamblers because they will heal over time and cause your kill phases to get a little messed up. I think I'm going to try to pull this Lurker with a Holy Shock, and I don't think I'm able to pull it off, actually. Yeah, I'm just out of range. But I'll pull those slimes there with a Consecration, followed with a Holy Shock on the Lurker down there. Do another body pull on these slimes. You're going to want to then do a Consecration in between those. And then you're going to want to jump off and do Divine Favor, Holy Light, make sure that you bubble, and also I will use a Swiftness Potion here. So I bubbled, I'm going to Holy Light here, and then I'm going to just use my Swift Potion right away. And you're going to just haul over here. You have just enough time to get past the slimes there in your bubble. So there's some mobs that I could have pulled. I don't have this down yet. I end up stunning that one. I will use an Exorcism on that farm mob. And then I think I use a max distance Consecration there. This Lurker, I think I try to avoid, but he ends up pulling. You can Holy Shock those sludges. Um, and then you can stun this Lurker typically, but I think I'll end up judging him. Those lurkers will pull, or the sludges will pull by default. You can exercise the satyrs back there, pull both those tanglers with a consecration, judge that tangler. You can holy shock that tangler, and then body pull these. In this little entrance, you can put a rank 1 consecration to pull both of the stealth mobs, and then you can use judgment on the tangler, and then make a jump for this tree. Basically, if you don't make this jump, it'll make it so that you can't pull an additional 10 mobs or so in a side room that I'll show you soon, as well as get a little more distance on the mobs, get them a little more clumped up. Um, Not that in the world if you don't, you can still have enough time to run around through here, jump up and run along here. But basically, you want to run and jump. You're going to kind of run into the wall here, and then continue past it and land in this little divot here, like that. And then here you can either heal if you want to play it safe in your first learning, or you can just make a straight beeline for the little alcove that I'm going to head toward. All the mobs behind you try to catch up. Um, so here you're going to want to go ahead and uh, do your exorcism on one of the mobs. You can use a holy shock on the other one. I ended up missing it, so I had to go back and get it. You can judgment that one. and you should be in a pretty good spot away from the mobs that are coming towards you. I end up stunning that one to pull it. I missed that tree, but it's one mob. They do add up, but I'm still working on getting all these mobs in the right order. I try to cleanse myself whenever I get a poison or disease um, or a magic effect on me, just because it does deal a lot of damage over time, and it's worth the mana in this initial state to dispel it. Um, I go ahead and exercise those mobs in the corner. I get hamstrung here, and I think I end up popping a bubble to stay alive. I think this is where I get really close to death. Getting hamstrung is something that can happen. You can have less protection on your bar, like I do here, or you can just pop a bubble right away with the swiftness potion to get away from them, get some distance. Um, I end up healing myself up here, and then if you actually hug, if you just cross this bridge right here, you will likely get hit by a bunch of mobs, and you could die. Mainly, you lose a bunch of health. Mages will definitely die, but you can probably run straight across. I like to go take a longer route. You get hit less because all these mobs aren't right under you. More of them are past you at that point. Um, so those imps will aggro by default. I drop a consecration here in order to get extra ticks off on the mobs because they'll be running um, away from you and still running through the consecration. I drop another one right about here for the same reason. And now, unfortunately, because I have forbearance and I don't have a bubble up, I need to run a route to reset them all. Um, and I heal myself up here first, and then I come through and I exercise this corruptor here. You want to wait a little bit so that the other mobs get a little bit closer to you. So I go ahead and use exorcism, and then I think I end up pulling these as well, just because to get a few extra mobs. The undead and the fiends die a lot quicker because you're able to use Holy Wrath on them. Deals a lot of damage. Um, but you want to take this route whenever you want to reset the mobs, or not reset, whenever you want to uh, reroute them so that you can get back to the kill room safely. So you can come over here. I usually pop a consecration right there, and be careful because these satyrs can also gouge you, and that will stun you for 3 seconds. And if you get stunned, unless you have a bubble, you're stuck. And if the mobs catch up to you, that's enough time for an additional chain stun. Bad things can happen. And I think I actually get stunned as I'm falling off here. So I jump off. Yeah, I get gouged as I'm falling. So that was pretty lucky, or unlucky, I suppose, but lucky that I ended up being able to fall off and make it out of there. But if you find that you need to get more distance on the mobs, try to clump them up a little better, or you don't have enough, you, you you need more time on your forbearance or for your bubbles, that's what I would recommend doing. Just running that route really quick. Having a lip could also save you from having to run that route again. It might help you out a little bit. Um, but as you can see here, the mobs kind of caught up to me. It would have been smart for me to use a swiftness potion earlier, but I ended up popping it here, and it ends up working out for me. I got silenced as well, um, and I end up cleansing myself. I take that long route around. I think I end up still taking some damage. Not too much, but you can get the mobs to kind of trail you nicely. Um, it's still a very long tail, which is unfortunate. Um, I'll drop the consecration there. I come up around the corner, jump off here. That will basically make it so that the mobs clump up a little better. So these get a chance to catch up to these mobs, whereas the ones in the middle get a little bit closer to you. That's why if you drop a consecration around there, you'll get damage ticking off on mobs constantly. As you can see there, all those numbers popping up. Um, drop another consecration right here. And then we're going to go into our first major damage phase. So you're going to want to line of sight as many of these corruptors as you can. Make it so that, because these need to die on the first pull basically. You can definitely face tank these mobs for a little bit, and then I end up casting my bubble consecration. Then I use my Zangolian Hero Charm. Then I use my Oil of Immolation. Then I Holy Wrath, and then I Dense Dynamite. And then I drop one more Consecration before I leave, and I end up overshooting that. Not the end of the world that that happened, but if you wanted to, you could wait right there and wait for the mobs to pack back down, and then you can drop another Consecration and dance them back and forth a little bit. Um, but because this happened, I actually need to wait for them to come back down. Ends up working out for me because I have 41 seconds on my forbearance, so I just need to run that route again. I'm going to skip ahead here. I'm on my way back, and some mobs are getting close. You can kill any stragglers with just melee, but it looks like for the most part, the mobs are all around the same health. So I think I killed most of the undead and the corruptors and the satyrs. And I think here I re-equip my Shield of Condemnation because that gives me 20 extra spell power. And I run the long way after waiting because I want the mobs to get out of that out from under the bridge. So I wait a little bit, then I cross, end up only getting a few hits off on me. I'm at 143 mobs so far, mainly deep borers and corruptors and the poison sprites. Um, I'm using Kill Tracker for the add-on to track those. It's very aptly named. I'll drop a Consecration back in that little favorite spot. I'll cleanse myself. So you see this Shambler here, it's casting Wild Regeneration, and it will end up healing itself. So that's why I try to recommend to not pull these Shamblers if you can. If you want to increase the mobs, that's great. If you've got your kill phase down, awesome, go for it. But when you're first learning, try to avoid them because it will just extend the kill phase unnecessarily. If you stop them in a consecration, then it's not a big deal. But each tick will heal them for a decent amount. Um, and now we're going to go into the second major damage phase, and this is using your Blessing of Protection. So this is what you want to do when all of the ranged are down. I end up just, I think, killing this Trickster here, or trying to. Um, so you want to wait on this little ledge here, and wait until you're kind of in between the giant mob pack. Tage showed me this in his video. You want to make sure that the mobs on the left are roughly equal to the mobs on the right, so that when you bubble and jump back up, they'll collapse on you in roughly the same amount of time. So I bubble. I also cast the ability that reduces mana cost by I think 50% for 15 seconds, just to get more Consecration out, another Holy Wrath out. Then I cast my Consecration. I cast my Xandalian Hero Charm. I cast my Oil of Immolation. I am able to. I think I cast another Consecration there. I'll throw it in Dynamite, deal extra damage. I always bring these on my pulls. Use them if you have them. Um, and then you can just dance with these mobs back and forth on your consecration. This is kind of how paladins can do the mage cheese. Um, so when they're all clumped up and they're all low, you can do this a lot easier than if you have maybe half that are low and a half that are not low enough to be running a little slower. So you just dance back and forth with them like such, and a lot of them are getting really close. At this point, if I wanted to, I could have popped my Ramsey's Lightning Bolts. I still haven't done that. Um, I probably should have done that with my initial bubble instead of the Zandalier Hero Charm, but I think the Zandalier Hero Charm does increase damage by quite a bit. Um, you can always Holy Shock the Shamblers that heal, just to get a little more damage on them. Um, Worth noting that the big rocks will turn into little rocks once they die. Um, you can use this platform to heal up as much as you want. You can pretty much just run back and forth here. I jump just because I feel safer that way. Um, but yeah, you just want to keep kiting the mobs back and forth. And you've got a Tangler that I'm able to kill with my Holy Shock. And I think I end up deciding to try and face tank them right here. I use my Ramsey's Lightning Bolts. A lot of these mobs are immune to nature damage, so that's something to think about. The Shamblers, I know. But at this point, I end up just killing him, and he died. So from video start, it's about 16 uh, minutes elapsed. It definitely took me some time. I had to run that extra kill route. Um, you can get this down to about 15 minutes. And if you're able to get more mobs, you can increase the mob count as well. This time I got 258 mobs in roughly 18 minutes there from start to finish, which is, pretty pretty decent for a paladin. Um, Especially if for starting out. I started doing this a couple days ago, so I plan on continuing to perfect this as I keep going. Um, but I just want to say thank you for watching the channel. Feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. Feel free to like the video, subscribe if you like the content. I'll try to be releasing new content every other day or so during the PTR version of the pre-patch while I continue to test these Mara pulls. I've done videos for Scarlet Monastery, for Stockades. I have one for Dead Mines coming out, and I'm also hoping to get one for maybe Shadowfang Keep. So you can farm some of the best in slot blues for Twinks during the arena, and um, should be fun stuff. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.